All right, so I want to talk about covenants and angels and things we ask for and condemnation. So that's a nice cocktail. Just walking one of my dogs, getting the mail, and thinking some deep thoughts about this. So thought number one, angels can be human. Thought number two, God's covenant to us includes two things, more than two, but two that I'm going to talk about right now. One is that it's His will to give us every good thing we ask for. And two is that in the end times, everything will be provided for everyone to rise up as high in His kingdom as they will. Because God uses humans to help fulfill His covenant, we can find ourselves in situations where we're being used as an instrument to bridge a person to what they're asking Him for. And this rarely happens in ways that people notice, that the requester will notice. And there are many reasons for that. One simple one is that if they knew how to get what they wanted, they'd already have it. So, one reason they don't recognize a person's role in bridging them to what they're asking for is because they don't know the way. We read that angels keep the way of the tree of life. That's something to think about. So it's been I don't know what word to use here. Sometimes it's a blessing, but more often than not, it's a curse. To act in ways that I know God is using me as the bridge to what someone is asking for, and I can see clear as day a pinch point that they can't get around, the bridge that they will have to go across in order to get what they're asking for. And it lies outside of the window of what they're willing to receive, and so they're everlastingly cut off from it until they change their attitude, what they're willing to receive or how they're willing to receive it. So that's unfortunate. As for making available everything needed to come up as high as you will, often that includes, so much of what we don't have from God is about not recognizing how little we have. Now, a lot can be said in the other direction of being more grateful for the many things we do have. But a huge limitation in receiving more is understanding how little we have. One piece of this is understanding how far we are from where we want to go. And the process of exposing that space consists of correction. It consists of correction. And who's the correction going to come from? It has to come from someone who knows. We don't like that in our modern time. But I'll tell you who likes it the least. I could use an analogy here, but I guess I'm not going to do that. The people who like it the least are the ones who have seemingly always had the answers. So you hear we have this phrase, the smartest person in the room. Those people have a special challenge when they're finally not the smartest person in the room. And they don't really have a lot of variation in how they react to that. It's quite consistent from person to person. And they almost always fail miserably. So it's understandable that it's challenging for them because they don't have any practice in this. But why they need the help. So we talked about you don't have the blessings that you seek because you don't know how to get them. Well, these people don't know their limits because they haven't yet met someone who can show them to them. Because how do you do that? Well, it requires a certain level of experience and critical thinking and the ability to argue. And most people don't have that. These folks have navigated their lives in such a way that the people they've been around, they've been able to out-argue them. And sometimes that's because they have more truth. And at other times, it's just because they had more of the argumentation skill set, which can be used for evil as well as good. So when God dispatches angels to these people, more often than not, their job is still to cry repentance. But it's no secret that more often than not, the people won't listen. So their mission becomes to leave them without excuse. And that's a bitter pill. It's not fun. It's not fun. I remember once as a missionary, I was praying. We had an area we were working in. It was rather large. And I asked the Lord where we should go to find the people that He had prepared to hear what we had to say. And He spoke to me and He said something like, this message needs to go to all people, not just to the ones that are going to listen. I said, well, you've got a good point. It's an easy thing to say to God, right? And He said, I have many people that I can send to the ones who will listen. But very few of my children will go to the ones who won't. And they must be left without excuse. So, I'm not a sports person, but I understand that coaches, they send in certain players under certain conditions. And some of us play different parts of the game better than other parts of the game, I guess. And it's been my lot to be a closer, I guess, frequently. And it's not any fun. But it's important because we all have to be in a position where in the day of judgment, we know that God did everything that could be done for each of us. And that whatever our lot is, it was our choice. And an awful lot of people are going to be in a position where they realize that they were given an irrefutable argument, a sufficient argument against the things they were hung up on, but they wouldn't listen. And I hope that if you're listening to this, I hope you're very careful about your windows of receipt, because there are going to be a lot of people in that day who wish that they had listened, and who, when we're resurrected, one of the things that changes is that we lose the ability to lie. And so you'll have to be honest about what really happened and whether what you were told had sufficient evidence or not, and whether it was a better argument than whatever you thought before. So it's something to be very cautious about.